Hey friends, welcome back. In this video, we are creating a really cute new baby card, and I love this stamp set. Simon Says Stamp just released this and sent this over to me to create with, and I have been in need of a fun little baby stamp set. So I'm excited because I don't have many baby cards. First thing I'm going to do is trim down my cardstock. I believe I did 3.5 by 4 3/4, I believe. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this as my actual panel. I'm not going to be doing any die cutting today. So I'm going to put this in my MISTI, and then I'm going to be very, very gentle with my placement here. And I want to make sure everything is aligned exactly where I want it. Again, I'm not doing any die cutting, so this is going to be my final card that I'm stamping on right now. I will end up using Copic markers. They are an alcohol marker, and because I'm going to do so, I want to use an ink that plays friendly with alcohol markers, and for me that is this Momentum Tuxedo Black, which I love. So I'm going to stamp that down a couple of times just to get really good contrast, and then I'm going to let that dry for quite a bit of time. I would say probably 3 to 5 minutes. That way I don't get any smearing when I go to color. So that'll dry while I go get all of my color choices together, and then I'll get to coloring. Now, if you click on the title of the video, a description box will open up, and it's going to give you access to all of the materials that I'm using in this video. Included will be the color choices that I chose for my Copic, so I'll give every color code that I have on the screen here. That way you don't have to pause and write them down. They'll be listed below for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get coloring here. I like to do a light, dark, light combo where I start by coloring my entire image in my lighter shade. Then I'll go back with a darker shade and add some shadows, and then I'll go back again with the lighter shade and blend it out. It's just what works for me and how I like to color. But let's go ahead and get all of these images colored. Again, all of the colors that I use will be linked below. And there is the final card. I love how that turned out. It's nice and soft, and I liked using a consistency with the little diapers. I thought that was really fun just to keep bringing that pretty teal in. Okay, now I'm gonna grab some more boyish colors for this card, and I'm gonna do a navy, a powder blue, and more of a teal turquoise color. I love this combination together, and I'm doing some paper strips here. I'm just eyeballing it. They are probably about 1/3 of an inch, yeah, probably. And I am going to go ahead and place these diagonally on another card panel that's going to go underneath the colored panel, the one that I have all my colored images on. So I'm going to go ahead and place these in the color order that I find best for my eye. And then it's going to be nice. They're just going to peek out the side of the card on the left and right and just give a tiny little pop of color that I think will also tie into the colors that I used with my markers. You can use scissors here, but I'm simply going to grab my paper trimmer. I find it just works better for me to trim off all the excess, and then we will have these paper strips flush with the side of the card. It looks nice and clean, and then we can place our panel right over this, and again you can just see just a tiny peek of those colors coming out the sides, which I think is nice. I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of my colored images, and then I'm going to place those onto my paper stripes just to give a little boost of dimension, and I really like how that is all coming together. It's looking really cute. So now what I need to do is think about my card base, and I wanted to keep it really clean and simple and keep those colors focused on the animals and then the paper strips, so I went ahead and just did a plain white colored base, but you can absolutely bring in an additional pop of color here if you'd like. I did try to put mine on a powder blue card base and a teal card base, and it just wasn't working for my eye, so I went with the white. I'm going to do another layer of the foam tape to give it just another tiny boost of dimension. I think that's going to look really nice. And then we're going to start thinking about our sentiment, and I want to bring some further color in here. So I'm grabbing the same color paper that I used for those strips. One is the powder and one is in a navy blue. These are so pretty, and I'm actually going to do some heat embossing. So I'm trying to get my little stamps aligned with the edges there so that I don't have to do as much fussy cutting. I end up having to redo one, you'll see in a minute, because I got it a little bit misaligned, but that's okay. And I'm going to add some anti-static powder real quick just to neutralize my paper, and then I'm going to stamp my stamps with a Versamark. I think of this like a glue. It's going to glue the embossing powder onto the stamped image. That way I can melt it later and get a nice crisp white color. Again, I'm restarting that little stamp there. I just misaligned it, so I just turned this over. I'm going to repeat that whole process, get it stamped down with Versamark, and then we'll add our embossing powder. So now I have a fine detail white embossing powder that I'm going to use, and you can see that it's placed right over that Versamark and sticking just perfectly. And because I added that anti-static powder, it's not sticking anywhere else. That's why it's important to neutralize that paper. And once my heat tool is nice and hot, I'll go ahead and melt that powder. You can see it turns a really nice crisp white, which is so pretty on the contrast of that paper, which I just love. I'm simply using my sweatshirt just to brush off any of that anti-static powder so that it looks really nice and clean, and I'm grabbing some fine detail scissors to trim out my little sentiments here. I usually do not like fussy cutting, but I figured I could handle it with these tiny straight cuts, and they didn't turn out too bad, so I was pretty happy with it. And then what I will do next is decide on a fun placement for my sentiments on this card. I kind of wanted them to be just looking like they're almost just tossed on the card, have a fun little diagonal look to them. So I went ahead and added a foam square to the back to add a tiny dimension on top of the stamped images, which I really liked. And I love how it turned out. I think it's really, really nice and sweet. I will finish this card off with some sequins, which is a really fun look just to finish off a card. And I went with this gold disc sequins. I really like this. It's so pretty, and I liked how it worked with the tones of the card that I already had going on here. And I'm going to do a little duo and trio. I think it finishes off the card nicely, and I'm really happy with how this card turned out. So there is the final card. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Again, all the supplies I used will be listed down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope you're inspired with this card.